was taking in stride, the caution on EVs. I think even, sort of among the investor base and certainly the analysts too, there's some real concerns about, just how sort of incongruous EVs are with Ferrari, and some questions about whether they should even bother going in that direction. I think the shares were down a little bit, earlier this morning when they were talking about that. I think where we saw the stock really just take it on the chin was when they came out with their outlook, for through 2030. And I think that the profit, growth was underwhelming. I should, sort of say it also is the case that they are still, calling for growth. I think some analysts were maybe hoping for also some increase in volumes, but that's not really, what Ferrari is about. They, are sort of like clockwork, making a pretty set number of vehicles every year, and charging an awful lot of money for them, and that's really been, something that's paid off. And I think, just the other thing to sort of keep in mind here when you look at what these shares have done, since they listed. The shares in Milan have been trading since early 2016. The New York ones a little bit earlier than that, but this is a stock that has absolutely been on a tear all those years since. And so, yes, a 16% decline in one day, sort of makes your eyes pop, but this is a company that is still valued very richly, and that makes a little bit more sense in hindsight.
And Ferrari also, of course, coming out with its first EV too, and that might be accounting for some of the caution in terms of what it sees going forward. In the story, you and your colleagues, Craig, talk about how not just Ferrari, but Porsche and Mercedes-Benz have also struggled with the electric transition. Why are wealthy buyers somewhat resistant to switching over to plug-in EVs? What's behind that?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I think, there was just this sort of working assumption that, the only thing that you were going to have to overcome was cost. And so, there was this, I think, sort of conventional wisdom. Well, we'll just have, the folks who are sort of most able to afford this incremental additional costs, they'll foot the bill, and we'll be sort of off and running as an industry, and gradually sort of work our way down price wise. I think if you're a luxury car buyer and you're having to pay a significant premium over, looking at models that are the same, one combustion and one electric, the electric one's a lot more. It is still a decision, and sort of a rational decision to sort of second guess whether or not you want to go electric. And I think that's what you're seeing is that BMW and Mercedes, until and unless they sort of price their models closer to one another, you're going to have some pushback on the part of the consumer to make that transition, even as we make progress in things like charging infrastructure and some of these hurdles that you have to overcome that are unique to EVs.
My biggest question for the supercars going electric is, I think a big part of the reason people buy the Ferraris, the Lamborghinis, is for the cool sound when they're coming down the street. What's Ferrari doing with that part of it?
Yeah, it's interesting, and we saw sort of we had indications that Ferrari was working on something in this regard to try and sort of preserve the noise that you can make driving a Ferrari, that they patented systems to kind of create essentially artificial noise, or at least to play up the noise that is made by electric motors in electric vehicles. I think, that being said, will we see Ferraris externally make nearly as much noise as a Ferrari supercar? I suspect that the answer to that is probably no. But I've been very entertained that Dodge came out with an electric vehicle last year, and I saw a report recently that an owner in Canada was ticketed for a noise violation with his electric Dodge vehicle. So maybe it's for the best, actually, that this will become a thing of the past.